I'm gonna show you how to do this kind of grass because SpeedTree is an amazing tool if you want to do everything that is vegetation related. I used it a lot in production, and you can go from like simple grass pack like this, or even like more big chunky one, you know, the one close to the ocean, or you know, the muddy one. The wind system, for me, it's one of the best. I didn't see anything. I'm not an animator, I really suck at it, so SpeedTree is really good for that, because the simulation, as you can see, when I just remove the gusting, we don't need it yet, but the way how every leaves interact with each other, it's, for me, it's really good looking. So let's just get things started. For this, you want to start with a blank project. The tree is gonna be our main emitters. I leave it by default. I usually don't change it, except really specific reason. The first thing I like to do when I do simulation, animation or whatever, is to go to the wind properties and go to the wind wizard. So just if people don't know, it's right click on the little icon here and edit wind properties. You go to wind wizard, and here you want to adapt your simulation to anything you're gonna do. It can be like a bush, trees, taller trees, anything else, but I'm gonna set it to grass. I like to set it to like breezy because I like when things are really moving. I leave that to default, this to default. I click on OK, and look at here what's gonna happen here. If you click OK, up now we have different values here, and this is, you can click on it, you can even change them, but basically those values, that's the one that bring the kind of noisiness in the wind simulation here that we have here. What I like to do next is to turn off the gusting, because for now the gusting is not important, especially when you want to check your trees. We're gonna also use forces, but not yet. So the first thing you want to do is right click on the tree, add geometry to selected, and we're gonna start to add some trunk. So don't worry about the size. For now, we are based on a tree because it's a trunk, so don't worry about that. What you want to do is to switch into the skin. So I'm gonna work tab by tab. You want to make sure in generation you're in absolute. You want to make sure that it's not dependent on something else, that is basically dependent on the tree here, but then this is the number one. You don't want to be like parents, flood, or anything else. So absolute. Let's put a number of like 100. It's gonna be basically, we're gonna have 100 leaves or stems, or I don't really know what you call this kind of stuff. Let's go back here. Let's close this one. We don't want to be disturbed. We leave that. You can do some sweep if you want. Sweep is adding some rotation to your stems, leaves. I leave it to 1, but usually what I like to play with SpeedTree is the randomizer here. It's basically this little icon, you click on it, and you can add some randomness. It's basically gonna take between 1 to the 99.1, and it's gonna apply them at random values. So as you can see, I'm really moving slowly, and it's already like doing crazy. So you don't want to go too far with this one. This is pretty good. Just do 25. 0.2. So what you want to do next is very important. It's the first and last. Growing, which way you want to grow your leaves. Fast, we're not gonna use it here because we are working on the ground. We're not working on a tree. Basically, first is gonna pop branch at your first base, but if you move up, your branch gonna start here. It's really good when you want to do like conifer trees, like Australian trees or stuff like that. Last, it's basically it's gonna still pop branches at the way top, but you can also go down. But for now, this one, let's leave it to 0. I'm just gonna do 0.05. It's not a much of a big difference here, but because we still work with trees right now, as you can tell, it's trees, trunk. We gonna have a hard time judging the size of our stuff. So what you want to do is go to skin, and instead of using polygons, you want to use spine only. And basically is gonna use this as a bones or a structure to make the animation and to spread the leaves. Let's go back to the spine after. I don't want to burn steps here. So make sure in generation everything is set. So 100, everything looks good. We can now go to spine. And this one, we're gonna have forces, like I said later, but I'm gonna show you why and how to set up them. What you want to do is the length. Because it's grass, you want it to be tiny. Usually 1.1 to 1.2. Let's do a 13, should be fine. I usually use this value. Usually I don't go super elevated. It depends on the type of grass you want to do. But I like to play with the randomizer here as well. So let's click on that. And the size is gonna be 0.3. Looks okay-ish. Now as you can see, the grass is not looking super well. Don't worry about that. We're gonna start to add some orientation to it. And to do that, it's fairly simple. It's basically here. You want to start to play. So usually when I work on grass, I like to open it like 0.3. Yeah, it sounds fine. And also on this one, because I don't want everything to be equal, I want to add a value of 0.3. No, it's too big. 0.2. Yeah, it starts to look better. 3 might be too small, so maybe 35. Yeah, it starts to be better. So now you can start to see the shape of the grass that we are doing. What I like to do as well is add some gravity to it, but be careful because it's very like strong. Put that back to 0, but instead same randomizer. I'm gonna put like 0.05. Yeah, sounds okay-ish. The rest I don't touch. There is no prune, no noise, none of this. No breaking. You don't want to break. What you want to make sure it's shape. You leave it by default. The skin, I leave it by default as well. Just make sure that the radius, you don't want it to be super big, because I'm gonna show you why. If you add like a front, it's super big. Oh, the wind. Sorry, I didn't know it was on. It's too big, but I'm gonna show you later the front. Let's be step by step. So this one we're gonna put 0.01. This one as well, we can make it a bit bigger. 0.005. Sounds okay. The rest is fine. So now we can start to, oh, by the way, before I forgot, go to animation and don't forget to turn that on. And so now we can add our geometry to it, the latest one, because we only need 3 nodes for this grass, and it's gonna be the front. The front's gonna be basically the geo based on the bones here. So it's still big, don't worry. This is good. We set up the animation. Oh yeah, I need a segment. You want to make sure you don't have too much. Usually 25 is fine. I really don't want to be too crazy. Yeah, let's leave it to 20 for now, and we can always go back later. You don't really need any radials. Leave it that way. Now you want to go to the front. We don't have shader yet, but I'm going to show you how to set up the shader yet later. The front, you want to be global. 0. I leave it by default. The roll, you can add roll as well. But what you want to do is actually go to the width and the scale. The width, as you can tell, it's way too big, too thick. So you want to do like maybe 0.3. So I'm leaving it big, but I'm gonna show you why, because we're gonna apply the textures to it, and you don't want to be too thin. Let's leave it to this and maybe add a noise of 0. So you don't Quick tips, I mean, probably you already know that. You don't need to write 0.03. You can just write on your keyboard 0.3 and it's gonna automatically add the 0 on top. Let's do 0.5. That's good. The height is 1. So the roll, you see, adds some rolling effect. You don't need to go crazy because you see it's very sensitive. SpeedTree have really sensitive values, so be careful of that. So we're gonna create a material, and to create a material, it's super easy. You just the material here. So if you don't have these windows here, it's basically you go to Windows and you have everything here, assets, and it should pop up here or here, depending on how you set up your SpeedTree. We're gonna click on the plus minus button, and we're gonna create a new shader. I invite you to name it leaves, grass. I don't know how to call that actually. If you know the name of this, let me know. I'll be curious. So here's the thing. When I created the grass here, I use SpeedTree material that I purchased. They have a bank that is really good. I suggest you to look at it. They have really cool stuff, but I'm gonna show you why you don't need to buy it, because it's a very simple texture. This is the texture, this is the diffuse. The pack I purchased came with like the normal and the opacity. So why I'm saying you don't need to purchase it, because today we live in a time frame that we have access to lots of free assets and free textures. So that's why I'm gonna show you this right now. Just let's look for grass. You want to go to atlases. It was already selected, but this one, for example, you remember the texture I showed you is just a crop, a really thin, long texture, and you have like variation here already. If I look at the textures, go full screen, yeah, you see here. So you can just download this as long as you're working on something for free. I don't want to have any trouble here. You just crop one of those. You crop the albedo, you crop the AO, you crop everything, and then you can just simply drag and drop them and bring that into your SpeedTree. This is why I really like SpeedTree, because the interface is very friendly. So here I can just drag and drop my diffuse, and here, bim, I can just drag and drop my opacity map, opacity, bim, and then the normal, and then the growth. And then I think we have, you can add later on subsurface and everything, but for this example, we don't really care. If I go to my phone, you're gonna be like, yeah, but you just created the textures, but I don't see it. Yeah, it's normal, because you now have to apply it to your leaves here. And this is here. You go to material, and you're gonna pick grass. And then, ta-da! And like I said just before, you can tell now that it's a bit too thin. So let's go back here. Sorry, to geometry, and let's make it a bit bigger. I think 4 is fine. Yeah, let's do 4. The thing is, like I said before, now you have a really cool looking bushes, but it's not as cool as the one I want to show you. Because if you go to the top views, everything go really like kind of to the same direction. I mean, not the same direction, but you know what I'm saying. It's like a perfect circle. So we're gonna break this shape. To break the shape, we're gonna add some forces. And for that, you only need 2 forces. That's the many one that I used, the magnet and the yarn. For that, you just click to the forces, right click, add magnet, right click, add yarn. Control click on those, W, just move them so they're not in the way. You can even like separate them. It doesn't matter where they are located. It is not gonna affect because it's gonna be general to the world. Let's go to the magnet. This one, magnet, you want to make a value of -0.2 Everything else you don't touch, you leave it by default. So now if I go to trunk, if I go to spine, I can start to apply the magnet. And then as you can see, everything is gonna be like attracted to a point here somewhere. You can increase the value or decrease. Usually it's really good values here, 0.25. It's a good middle range. So now it's looking a bit better, but you want to still break this circle. So for this, we're gonna use the nyal. We're gonna do the opposite, 0.2. Everything else, you leave it by default. And then go back to the trunk, go back to the nyal, and now everything is a bit broken. It's not as broken as the other example I show you, as the first videos I show you. But this is normal, I'm gonna show you why. What I want to see next, it's the animation. What the animation is playing. You can hide them by just clicking on this H, if it's bugging you. It's not gonna disable the forces, so it's still gonna be active, so be careful of that. So now let's just play. Yeah, it's not bad. It's not bad. To avoid this kind of weird effect, as you can see, you can add a double-sided. You can do that by just clicking here. What I like to do now, it's a bit too spread though. Let's go back here. Let's maybe reduce this one. I think it's too big. Yeah, let's do that. And there is one technique that I like to use. I'm gonna show you that after first. I'm gonna select both of those, Ctrl-C, Ctrl-V, and I'm gonna just select this one, and I'm gonna randomize selected. Select this one, randomize selected. You can select both and do randomize, which works the same way. And then I'm gonna apply it here, and I'm adding more values here. More leaves inside, which is gonna make our grass more pack. It's already pretty good, but what I like to do is having three groups. One that is regular size, one that is a bit higher. So this one is very easy, basically. Nothing crazy. I'm gonna decrease the numbers. Let's do 50. And I'm gonna leave the things the same. Maybe you can move this one a little like that. And instead, what I'm gonna change into the spine, I'm gonna change the size. I'm gonna make it bigger. And the orientation, I'm gonna be more way up. And I'm gonna probably, the alignment is good, the roll is good. And the gravity, I'm gonna decrease it by 2. So what I did is basically create like more chunk in the middle that go straight up. If I select them, you see, compared to this one is more spread. This one is filling the gap in the middle. And then that's all grass used to grow. It's basically the middle one are more dense and packed, and the rest is kind of falling through the gravity. This sounds good. I think that this one, let's do 5. Yeah, it's better. I like when it's very like centralized in the middle of the grass stuff. This one you can even play with the force here and do less, you know, or you can even, if you really want, which is really cool, it's here you can have like some random values. Yeah, let's do that. It looks cool. Something I didn't mention, let's just, so select those one, you can press H to hide them. I'm gonna hide this one too, and I'm gonna go back here. What I usually like to do is play with the curves here. It can bring lots of stuff. So when I do concept in grass, I like to just draw and do crazy shapes and just to see what's gonna be, how it's gonna affect the stuff. Never leave the drawing like that, because sometimes you go crazy and you do like crazy values. You want to be still smooth, but like maybe let's do something like that. And when you're happy with the value you have, you can just unclick draw, and then you have something more clean. Yeah. Let's just leave it like that. And this one, let's go back here, H to display it, and let's do something else like yeah, that's perfect. Go here, and I'm gonna actually, you can click on the print, delete. Simple as that. This is good. And now we have our two. Let's display everything back together. Let's put some more wind. And now if you want to be even more packed, which is pretty amazing, you just copy this one, plug it back, randomize it like 2-3 times. And now that's it. Voila, tadam! You have your grass ready to be imported into your 2D app, ready to make some renders. And that's up you go, guys. So you can even make like grass like this. This is for a project I'm currently working on, a personal project. You can do grasses like this. Like I said before, it's sand grass, you know, close to the ocean. And I use this kind of grass when I work on Love, Death and Robot. Cluster of grass, and it's the same process as I show you. The only thing that is different here is the first and last. They're just more spread. Easy like that. And the thing that I love the most about SpeedTree is basically when you want to create environments, you create one chunk of grass, and when you're happy with it, you saved it, version 1. You just click roll the dice here, and you have your variation. Usually you create 2 to 4. You can even like hide this one up, and you have another one, and then you create a bunch of variation. And this is how I use all of my grass and stuff, and how I do environments. So like I said, have fun, guys. I hope you found this useful and helpful, and see you for the next tutorial soon. Cheers, guys.